Okay, I think maybe we should start. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I know there's a few of you listening in. I can't really see anybody's camera, so I feel like I'm just talking to Kathleen and Anna here. But my name is Inda. I am calling in from Moncton, New Brunswick, which is located on the bank of the river or Petitcodiac in the Signig district of Mi'kma'ki, which is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship, which was signed in 1725 between the Mi'kmaq, the Wolastoqey, and Passamaquoddy peoples and the British Crown. And this treaty did not deal with surrender of lands and resources. The reason I'm starting today with this land acknowledgement is because that's part of my reconciliation role as well as an individual, and as well as to remind myself of my responsibilities as a treaty person, as we all are. As an immigrant who came from a very busy metropolis, I'm really, really grateful that I get to live so close to the river and to enjoy so much peaceful nature in these territories, and to be able to do work that supports youth to protect those environments. So today I am speaking on behalf of the Students on Ice Foundation. It is a nonprofit with a mission to inspire connection and empower leadership for a sustainable future. If you maybe heard about Students on Ice's expeditions, we've been doing that for over 2 decades. We've offered educational experiences through ship-based expeditions to the Arctic, Antarctic, and places in between. In 2017, I believe both Kathleen and I were on the Canada C3, or Coast to Coast to Coast expedition. And expeditions still remain our bread and butter for our organization. But we also now have non-ship-based programming, which is what we're going to share about with you today. Some of the resources that we created as part of a program called Blue Futures Pathways are actually made for teachers to use in their classrooms. And this program supports and encourages young people ages 14 to 30 years old in Canada to explore careers within the emerging sustainable blue economy, which I will explain a little further later. And these are kind of like resources that can be used by educators to introduce their students to careers and issues within the ocean, water, and ice sectors in Canada. And you can see my co-presenter is my colleague Anna, as well as Kathleen Matari, who is a fisheries technician and ocean professional, as well as an alumni of the Students on Ice Foundation. Kathleen, I'll leave you to explain a little bit more about your role in today's presentation and our work together.
Yes, gladly. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. My name is Kathleen, as Inda said, and I'm able to participate from the Western Arctic of Canada. And I wanted to present with my co-presenters on, I think, some very important resources that are available for your classrooms, especially those that want to learn about exploring different careers, working with ocean and freshwater. I'm an Inuvialuit, and my father is British. My mother is a Inuvialuit, and I was raised here in the Northwest Territories, and I have pursued a career in the ocean sector. So I've been a public servant now for over 10 years, and I will be able to, along with Inda and Anna, give you a sample activity of what we'd be able to work with you on with your students about pursuing a career here in the far north. Especially that in the ocean sector, how I got to where I am now, and then hopefully that will be somewhat of an example to other youth across Canada, other Indigenous youth like myself. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Kathleen. And I guess we can go to the next slide now. So I mentioned briefly about the sustainable blue economy and the resources that are catering to that through our program, Blue Futures Pathways. So the sustainable blue economy is a term that we use when we talk about livelihoods that are based on the ocean, freshwater, wastewater, and the cryosphere. That also balances out the environmental and sociocultural benefits, for our communities. Water is, as we know, so important for us as living things, for our cultures, for our bodies, our livelihoods. And within the Canadian context, we know that we have the longest coastline in the world. Most of that is in Inuit Minungat, and also 20% of the world's freshwater reserves. So we believe that it's really important that young people are aware of the opportunities within these sectors, as well as play a part in leading and shaping this emerging sustainable blue economy. We want to make sure that we are helping foster a blue economy that is, balancing out all of those aspects. And we're through Blue Futures Pathways, we want to make sure that youth are well positioned to take part. So that means we support youth to look into sectors like STEM, conservation, water management, Indigenous-led fisheries, or maybe sustainable tourism, ocean technology, and others like that. If we go to the next slide, Anna. So with sustainable ocean, water, and ice careers, we know that the World Bank predicts like the blue economy as is today will become a $3 trillion opportunity by 2030. In Canada, it already makes up 32 billion of our GDP and offers about 300,000 jobs. That means that the opportunity for youth is tremendous. In addition, we are facing the impacts of climate change, and often communities that are already marginalized or those who are in the rural and remote areas, they're some of the most vulnerable. So they need solutions for climate resiliency. For example, for communities in coastal communities. And in addition to that, we know that there's also a shift towards a greener economy, and there's no green without blue. So the ocean and water are key for our lives and livelihoods, even if we do some of that work on land. During our landscape analysis phase of the Blue Futures Pathways project, we learned that although it's important for young folks to get familiar with these careers, with these sectors, they're not really exposed or familiar with them. A lot of the ocean-based careers have not really been top of mind for them because they're often perceived as maybe unstable in terms of like a lot of these careers are only seasonal, or it's difficult, or you'd have to get your hands so dirty and things like that. And only typical sectors like fishing or the Navy are thought of as ocean-based careers, but there are so many different industries as well as different types of jobs which we want to expose youth to. And we found that there's really a need for programming to showcase youth this myriad of opportunities in various water-related sectors, including those in their own home communities and those that align with their cultural needs and their passions. So here are some of the examples of some sustainable blue economy jobs: building canoes and kayaks, dog sledding on the ice, research, science communication, doing film and photography, maybe graphic design that are related to water, small-scale fisheries. These are all part of it. In this past year and a half, as part of our support for youth who are already a little older, 18 to 30 years old, we have funded their training and internships in activities including environmental DNA tracing, river guide training that is in an Indigenous-led outdoor adventure company in the Yukon, ocean tech roles that can be comms or marketing, program coordination, engineering, all sorts of stuff. And I think just last month, through a collaboration with National Geographic's Pristine Seas expedition, 5 Indigenous youth got to join a ship-based expedition and did their internship that way, where they get a hands-on learning experience with Nat Geo's media team as well as ship crew. So that's where the learning resources come in. We have a series of these ocean-related STEM career videos, as well as these 6 interactive learning modules on the ocean, water, and ice sectors. And they're all free and available in French and English. I think my colleague Anna will show a little bit of how these modules are. Anna, if you want to do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Inda. And hi, everyone. Like Inda said, I'm Anna Naylor, and I'm the program manager for Blue Futures Pathways here at SOI Foundation. And so I just wanted to give you a quick show of one of our modules. So this is module 4, the cryosphere. And we just wanted to show you, let me go on to full screen, how it works. So it is based in Google Slides, and we did this on purpose so it'd be easily accessible by schools across Canada. And so the whole point of this module, and this is the cryosphere, and actually Kathleen is in this and highlighted in this, and she'll talk a little bit about her role within these learning modules. The whole point is that instead of using your arrows, you use your mouse, and then you can actually click through. These are tabs on the side. Anything that's highlighted in blue, for example, there's a definition that pops up. You can close it. So the point is that it's very interactive. There's embedded videos throughout. We talk about different things about the sustainable blue economy. Each one is laid out in the same way with these different types of tabs. So big challenges, for example. So depending on the topic, we focus on a big challenge of that area, big ideas and things that are happening with it. And then as well as applying the learning. So there's usually some type of teacher resource and activity with support there. And then you get to actually meet different people in the actual industry. And so, for example, like I said, Kathleen's in this, and so you can click and go through, and you can always go back to industry profiles and go back and forth. So like Inda said, there's 6 of these, take about 6 hours to complete. They're completely free for you to sign up for your classes, and either the educators that we've had been using before can either do it with their class as a group, or they can do it on, the students can do it on their own. Exactly. I see that there's a question, is there a format that does not require high-speed internet? That we've gotten that question before, and so we've actually transformed these learning modules as well into PDFs. Now they're not as interactive, obviously, as they would be on a Google slide, but it has all the information. It's laid out a little bit differently, so the information is clear. And so you can, once you register for all of these learning resources, my email pops up, and those are the kind of questions that you can ask me. I will hand it back to Inda and Kathleen. Thank you so much. And Inda, just give me 1 sec, and I'll put back the PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks, Anna. And yeah, in addition to this, as I mentioned, we have 10 videos of scientists in different roles within the sustainable blue economy. And those videos are in both English and French. And as I mentioned, everything is free to access. All you have to do is register. And I know Anna has a link for that registration later that she can share. Oh, it's right there now in the chat. And just to speak about the modules themselves, there are 6 of them, as I mentioned, and they look at the ocean, freshwater, wastewater, and ice from the lens of Western science and traditional Indigenous knowledge as well. And the lead author of the modules is Dr. Sherry Scully, who's done a lot of work on the blue economy particularly in Atlantic Canada. But she was also guided by our team, as well as a team of reviewers. I think there are 6 of them from various communities and backgrounds, professional backgrounds, to make sure that these modules are applicable for a wide range of youth across the country. And that they can also learn about other communities in Canada. Kathleen, do you want to share about your involvement in developing these?
Yes, certainly. So I was one of the co-editors, along with several other people across Canada that all had strengths in different topics that would be used to by the author and by students on ICE and Blue Futures Pathway to have them review their content. And it was a really great exercise. I learned a lot from the other editors as well. And in the end, it was really neat to see a well-rounded, robust resource as a product afterwards. It was so great to, and as we were editing, it was very hard to understand the interactiveness of it. And when you're just so deep into something like that, the content is kind of hard to think, how is this going to be taught to students in the classroom? But once the module was finished being edited with all of the edits and respectfully brought back to the author for her to review and things like that, then we saw what you just got a tutorial on, and it was really great to see. And myself, who's worked in classrooms in the far north, it was really great to see that. And I like the question about, can this this be used with internet that's not really high speed? So it's great that there is a format for that. And so, yeah, that was a little bit of my experience of that, of how neat it was to work on these modules.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. And there's also, if you're looking for other examples of careers that young people are doing in the sustainable blue economy, we have a series of blogs that are written about youth doing different roles. So they just kind of talk about what inspires them, what led them to pursue these careers, what they studied, and things like that. Just kind of showcase the educational and career pathways. And you can always visit our website, bluefuturespathways.org, to access all of these resources. For the videos, there are inquiry guides made for teachers. So that's also something that you can access for free if you're looking to use these resources in your classrooms. If we can go to the next slide. So one of the activities that Kathleen and I have done in classrooms as part of Blue Futures Pathways is to introduce students to ocean professionals. And Kathleen was one of the professional who shared her career story with students in Inuvik earlier this year in a session that was facilitated through a partnership with Connected North. I'll let her speak more about that experience and what she shared.
Yes, so here is a little bit of a sample activity that we would work with you as the educator to present to the students. And this part is where you meet the ocean professional, who's myself in this case. And I'll start off with talking about opportunities. I want to really encourage young people to take opportunities. And then I would speak a little bit about my life, how I took various opportunities during my high school years, my post-secondary education years, and then even afterward. And so I'd like to start off with putting myself back into your students' shoes. Where was I when I was their age? And I actually took an opportunity to help a research assistant in social work. And I am not in social work now. I did not pursue that path, but that doesn't mean that work was wasted. I really enjoyed it. I really learned a lot. And there's a lot of things that I learned about research in the far north from taking that opportunity. And so I'll go into a little bit more opportunities. I'll go on to the next slide here. I pursued post-secondary education, which is another thing that I would really strongly encourage young people to do. It's really hard to encourage young people to get a great job or find a great trade and things like that without stressing needing to get post-secondary education. And myself, who pursued post-secondary education, I could even speak a little bit to the challenges of having to leave the far north because there is no university or colleges that offer bachelor's or master's degrees here in my own town, how I had to leave not only my town, my territory, I actually left my country and I went to a different country to pursue my bachelor's of science. So I could speak a little bit more to that, but right now I'm just keeping it honed in on making sure that you take opportunities that come your way. So I took the opportunity to travel abroad and get my bachelor's of science. And here I went to pursue nursing. And I did one semester of that and realized that I cannot be in charge of someone's life. And so I figured that out. I didn't know that prior. I learned that. And when I came back home for Christmas, and I was really thinking, oh, I can't continue with this degree. But I realized the courses that I had taken for that one semester could also be applied to continuing on with my degree in a bachelor's of science in biology, marine sciences. And so I switched my degree. But also with that thought, I had guidance and wisdom from mentors, from my parents, that there will be work in that field, especially where I live in the far north. As Inda mentioned earlier, climate change is impacting us almost by the minute. I could walk on the street here in my town, and when I walk on that road the next day, there's an extra little bump, and it's our permafrost moving up and down. Even little things like that, it's literally underneath our feet. And as we go further north, we're seeing coastlines get washed away. We're seeing river paths that we would normally take as a travel route get totally changed, and we'd have to change our route. So anyways, I knew that if I pursued a degree in this field, that I would find work. So I'll go on to the next slide, talking about opportunities that I'd taken that finally led me to my career as a public servant working for the federal government in the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And so the picture there where I'm standing on the beach, I'm in front of it's a watchtower of sorts. It's an ancient watchtower. We do not use that anymore. We have current technology that helps us find beluga, but that used to be used 70 or 80 years ago to put you up maybe 10, 12 feet higher to be able to see where belugas are and to hunt them. And now we don't use that, but that island outside of Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories, is still used to harvest beluga when the beluga come in the beginning of summer. So I worked for the Aurora Research Institute as a summer student between the 4 years of getting my bachelor's of science. And so I took the opportunity to be a summer student for the full summer. And I really gained a lot from that. Those 3 years in between, the Institute, along with a coordinator, gave me all the skills that I would need to be a technician of sorts, but also how to apply the book knowledge I was learning to the field. And then also how to understand the importance of being Indigenous here, knowing what I know, and then applying that to the field. And this is where I started understanding that there was a breakdown in communication, a breakdown of understanding of sorts, almost like there wasn't a bridge between Indigenous knowledge of people that have lived here for years, gained knowledge about how the ocean is, how marine mammals are, terrestrial animals, things like that. And then how Western science was getting, and they have for the past several years, such a stronger interest in working in the North, but realizing that these two groups, they weren't understanding each other at times, but I was kind of caught in the middle, and I see what both sides are saying, and if they could understand, maybe some translation work be done, I think there could be a better understanding. And so that was sort of started off my role as someone who bridged that. And it was the very first time that I saw traditional knowledge be used to guide Western science endeavors, and then have that data come back that only Western science could collect with their kind of equipment that they use, with their textbook knowledge that they know, and then bring that back to the Indigenous knowledge holder. You just saw this really beautiful, like harmonious understanding take place. And then as I started getting into that, I had realized that my grandfather before me, and then my father earlier in his career, they also noticed these issues, and they were trying to work on the same thing that I was. And it's almost like I was just picking up the baton from where they were racing, and I'm going to start the next race kind of thing. So that's where I started learning that. And that really came about by me taking the opportunity to be a summer student while I was studying my bachelor's. And then lastly, that photo on the ice road there, that's taken here in the Mackenzie Delta. And I want to share with youth that I took the opportunity to stay in my hometown and pursue my career right here. And thankfully, I did not have to leave my town or my territory or my country like I did for my education, but I was able to pursue my career here as a fisheries management technician. And so that is sort of my component of meeting an ocean professional, and then we would go on to the rest of the activity.
Thanks, Kathleen. Yeah, so usually when what we noticed in our last session together was that because Kathleen was able to connect with the students because they come from the same place, it's almost like they saw themselves in her. They were able to connect with her and be more engaged in the activity that we offered. So that was really useful and helpful. And we also usually accompany that kind of activity with another sample activity, which is helping the students with some future planning and goal setting. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the ocean sector, but it kind of helps them to just explore what are their interests. Maybe there are some things that just to think about their educational and career pathways, and then think about goal setting. And then we remind them that it can change along the way, but it's nice to have to visualize almost what you want, if that's already there, or like what you like to do. This activity is also great to help them keep track on their path, and we can share this tool with the teachers and leave the teachers with it, so the discussion can continue with their students. So that's something that we can do for sure. And I know, Kathleen, you had a note about how teachers can help with the engagement as well in classrooms when we do these activities.
Yes, there is a very high importance on your role as an educator to take part in this part of the activity with the future planning, goal setting, especially in this kind of virtual setting. It's very difficult for us to feel like we're sitting down one-on-one with somebody. So it'd be very good for yourself as the educator to kind of go over the presentation with your students, and then use the various questions that we would offer as sort of like a kind of guide that they can use to go through what we just kind of went through, but then come out of it with their own thoughts and ideas and maybe future plans. But that part we can't really connect on that part as much. Maybe it takes a little bit more time or something like that. So I would just really stress the importance of yourself as the educator to take this activity that we've done and kind of run with it a little bit with your students in your own classroom.
Yeah, so that is the end of our presentation. If anybody has questions, please share them in the chat. I know Sherry had a question about the downstream summit that we had in June. We took part at, it was the first kind of like student networking event that was held by Water Canada, and we were one of their partners. So we were able to attend and also bring some youth there. And in fact, through the partnership, we're able to allow one youth to attend the whole conference for free. So this youth got to engage with a lot of employers and meet some of her, the researchers that she's been following for years, and she was really excited about that. So hopefully there's more of that coming, and we'll definitely be sharing with our network when that comes in. So please feel free to email me at inda@soifoundation.org, and I'll be sure to share that information should that come up again. Does anybody else have any questions or any notes on what they want to see on those resources? Or is there a chance they have a perspective on this activity? Yeah, Sherry, this youth actually wrote a blog post. I can share that with you. They wrote a first person blog post, and they also spoke about the importance of having the youth voice within the water sector. So I can definitely share that with you. I forgot to mention, so the total time that's needed overall for all 6 modules is 6 hours. So it can be faster depending on how quickly you go through all the definitions and such and the activities. And it can take longer if you want to dig into the discussion questions more. But overall, we say it's usually about 6 hours in total. Thank you so much, Andrew and Alex. Hi, Alex. Alex used to work with us and helped with the building some of these things too. Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Great to chat with everyone. Thank you.